Hello, Julie here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video is an art journaling page. So let's get started. I'm using some matte gel medium to attach these pieces of sewing pattern to my background. I'm using a piece of watercolour paper from this ring bound journal that I've decided to create. It's just plain watercolour paper that I've cut into an 8-inch, well actually I think it's an 8 by 8.5 inch to allow for those holes, and I'm just going to tear up some of this paper, scrunch it up and attach it to the background so that it gives me some messy crinkle. I apply a generous amount of matte medium to the pattern paper because I don't want it to lift and cause bubbles at a later stage. In an effort to make sure that the page is stuck down properly, I just run my fingers over the whole area and make sure that everything's attached well. This of course makes a mess with your hands, and I hate having to wash that matte medium off of my fingers. It never comes off properly. So while I'm waiting for that to dry, I get 2 pieces of paper out of a paper pad that I purchased a while ago called Letters from Home. I'm going to attach that die cut page on the right there on top of this lightly patterned paper. So I'm applying a coat of matte gel medium over the whole page. Then I'm going to stick that, what's a pale green, on top of it. Now that my matte medium is dry, I'm going to give the background a coat of gesso. I actually applied it a bit heavier than I wanted to, so I used a baby wipe to wipe most of it off, so it was just a light coverage. Now this is what I'm going to make my focal point out of, and I wanted to tone these colours down. Really all I wanted here was the texture of that die cut sheet, so I'm giving it a coat of gesso also, but this time I've watered it down in this little pot so that I knew that I wouldn't get it too thick and heavy. I'm going to start to colour my background now, and I'm going to use some acrylic paints. These are some paints I had left over from my ceramic days. The colours are jade green, summer blue and pale yellow. I'm just going to squeeze these onto my background randomly, and then I'm going to use my palette knife to scrape them across the page. I have to add some extra paint here to make sure that I've got the whole background covered to my satisfaction. So when I've done that, I set that aside to dry. I'm going to use the same technique to apply colour to my focal point. I'm going to use the same pale yellow and also terracotta and naphthol red, and once again of course I'm going to use my palette knife to just scrape that across and blend the colours that way. I had a malfunction here. I thought I had turned my camera on and I hadn't. But what I've done is I've used this 13 Arts stencil, which is the circles and the zigzags, and I've used some modelling paste, that's Montmartre modelling paste, and I've just applied the modelling paste through the stencil using my palette knife just randomly here and there over the background. While I'm waiting for my modelling paste to dry, I use this Kaisercraft set stencil, it's called Grunge, and my archival black, jet black, and a foam tool to apply some of the ink through the stencil onto the red and orange paper that I have created. It's time now to create the heart, so just with a pencil I draw the rough shape of a heart. I draw 3 actually. I want to have a large one and a couple of small ones, so I start with the large one, draw that, cut it out with my scissors, then do the other 2 the same way. Now that I'm happy with the size and placement of the hearts, I use the matte gel medium to attach them to the background sheet. I apply the matte medium both under and over the hearts. Actually, I apply it over the whole page because I'm going to use my Faber-Castell big pen marker to do some shading around these. Now that the matte medium is dry, I use my Faber-Castell Pitt pen in the black to do some shading around the hearts, all of the hearts. I draw along the edge of the heart on the outside of the heart and then smudge it with my finger to create a shadow, and any that gets in an area that I don't want it to get into, I can wipe off with that baby wipe. I have to do that before it dries because once it dries it is permanent, which is one of the things I actually love about these Pitt pens. I use the same technique to create a border around the edge of the page so that it gives it a sort of a frame, makes it look more contained. I wanted to give the heart a bit more detail, so I used my Stays On ink and a clear stamp that looks like coils of thread and stamped over the whole of all of the hearts, so the 3 hearts got the same treatment, and I basically stamped so that the whole area of the heart was covered, even though it's a fairly open stamp and it wasn't too overpowering. Then I watered down some gesso and used my fan brush to add some white splatters over the whole area, hearts and background. I had quite a heavy coverage of splatters. The background was looking a bit too simple now, so I used my Kaisercraft bubble wrap clear stamp and my Encore gold ink pad and stamped all over the background, avoiding the hearts as best as I could. I have a fine liner bottle that I keep some watered down black acrylic paint in, so I'm using that fine liner bottle now to outline, roughly outline, not a solid line, all of the hearts. I also add a sketched line to the outline of the page, just in reinforcing that border. The quote for this page came from the internet. I typed it out on my computer, printed it on just plain printer paper, and I'm using a gold Pentel metallic brush pen, which is more yellow than gold when I actually got it painted on here, but I watered it down a bit with a wet brush. Then I decided to try and wipe over it with the gold ink pad that I had used previously on the background. Then I used my archival ink to ink around the edge and cut my title into different sections and used matte medium to apply that to the background, to the page. The paint that I had put over the saying dulled it down too much, so I went over it with a Sharpie marker just to make it a bit darker. I get my black fine liner bottle out once again and go around the edge of the title. I realise at this stage that I've got the go with on crookedly, but there's not much I can do about that, because once you've got it stuck down with the gel medium, there's not much moving after that. The page was looking a little bit too dark and I wanted to give it a bit of a lift, so I got the fine liner out that I keep my white acrylic paint in, and I went around each of the hearts with the white, which gave it just the lift I was looking for. So that's it for today's page. Thank you for joining me here on my YouTube channel. I love it that you spend your time here with me. I am getting close to 300 subscribers and I'd love to have a giveaway when I get there, so please share my video with your friends and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you.